Can we say that conceptually there are actually two gods even in the eye of a strict monotheist? The interaction between the self-manifestation of God and human response produces belief. Of course, this belief doesn't completely describe God per se, but merely a reflection of the tajalli of al-haq, the self-manifestation of God in the whole cosmos. God in his absoluteness cannot be reached by anyone. He is simply an absolute mystery because he is infinite. However, on the next level, in the aspect of his manifestation, God restricts himself so that he can be grasped or apprehended by humans. Then humans perceive the tajalli of al-haq and binds him. This God who is bound by a human is the basis of his faith. According to Ibn Arabi, belief is a binding or a knotting, anti-limitation. Certainly the object of such a belief is not wujud al-mutlaq, the absolute being, but simply God of belief, ilah al-mu'taqad, God in belief, al-ilah fil i'tiqad, or God created in belief, al-haq al-makhluq fil i'tiqad. God of belief is not God in himself, but an image, thought, idea, or conception of God that is constructed by each individual according to his knowledge and preparedness. So what is known corresponds to who knows, as Ibn Arabi's favorite aphorism from Junaid al-Baghdadi, saying the color of the water is the color of its vessel. Therefore in Hadith Qudsi, God said, I am as my servant supposes me to be. So we should think well about him. Thus our knowledge of God must be overwhelmed by our thoughts that God is the most compassionate, the most merciful, the most loving, and the most forgiving. Our thought is of course based on another hadith, my mercy preceded my wrath, or in another, my mercy prevails over my wrath. Then we know on what the following statement of Ibn Arabi is based. Because God is the root of all the diversity of beliefs in the cosmos, and because he has brought about the existence of everything in the cosmos in a constitution not possessed by anything else, everyone will end up with mercy. So in Ibn Arabi's view, everyone will end up with mercy. So what about chastisements or torment in hell? We will discuss it in a separate episode. God of belief is an expression of one's preparedness that accords with his own permanent entity. Ibn Arabi explains, every believer has a Lord in his heart that he has brought into existence, so he believes in him. Such are the people of the mark on the day of resurrection. They worship nothing but what they themselves have carved. That's why when God manifests himself in other than that mark, they are confounded. They know what they believe, but what they believe doesn't know them, for they have brought it into existence. The general rule here is that the artifact doesn't know the artisan, and the building doesn't know the builder. Since you don't know him except through yourself, your knowledge of him necessarily depends upon your knowledge of yourself. So your existence depends upon his wujud, while knowledge of his lordship over you depends upon knowledge of yourself. So he possesses the root in wujud, and your property is that of the branch in wujud. But you are the root in knowledge of him, and he has the property of the branch in knowledge. Because the preparedness of each individual is different, belief or faith is also different. Knowledge of God is bound and limited by the servant according to his own preparedness. So God one believes in and witnesses is God in the form of his belief, nothing more. When a person has tied God in such a way, usually he easily rejects the conception of other people that he thinks wrong. Thus he can only accept the concept of God according to his binding or knotting. Here we can say a little boldly that actually everyone is an idol worshipper, because each person's conception of God in mind represents a particular sculpture of his idol, which is an abstract form, and it is only through such idols that one can know God. Without doubt, God knows this. And fortunately, God's mercy surely forgives this kind of worship, as Ibn Arabi points out. Quote, he removed the veil between him and his servants, and he saw him in the form of his belief, which is the essence of his belief. Both the heart and the eye always witness only the form of belief vis-a-vis al-haq. Thus the heart contains al-haq of the belief, and al-haq manifests himself to the heart, and hence the heart knows him. The eye sees only al-haq of the belief. According to Ibn Arabi, every person worships God according to his belief, and his belief is built by his knowledge of him. If people think that God is the retaliator, then it is his belief. However, the Sufis recommend that one should have a good supposition about him. If we think that God is merciful and forgiving, then it it is our belief. One's knowledge and belief are very diverse, so there are many concepts of God according to the context of each culture and religion. Each group usually rejects the concepts and doctrines of other religious groups. This is criticized by Ibn Arabi. The God of belief is the product of one's thought. It is one's production. One's praise of that which one believes amounts to one's praise of oneself. For this reason, one dispraises the beliefs of others, and if one were just, one wouldn't be able to do this. However, this believer who worships his specific object is no doubt ignorant of the truth, because he opposes the beliefs of others in their gods. That is because he had known al-Junad saying, "The color of the water is the color of its vessel." He would have approved of the belief of everyone and known God in every form and every belief. Such a person supposes but doesn't know. For this reason, God said, "I am as my servant supposes me to be." Ibn Arabi's view of God of belief is critical to anyone who considers his own conception of God to be the most correct. And Ibn Arabi also criticizes those who deify God of belief. Ibn Arabi even calls such a person the ignorant one who doesn't understand the matter. Because after all, God of his own belief, as in the beliefs he claims, is not God per se. God per se is unknowable and impossible to know. It is quite clear that Ibn Arabi's view is also directed at anyone who reviles other beliefs that are different from his personal belief in God, either in the same religion or in different religion. Ibn Arabi warns, "Beware of limiting yourself by a specific belief and disbelieving in anything else, lest you miss much good. Moreover, you will miss knowing of things as they really are. Be in yourself primal matter, receptive to all forms of belief, for God is too vast and great to be confined by one belief rather than another." For this reason, he said, "Wherever you turn, there is the face of God." He didn't mention one place rather than another. He mentioned that there is the face of God, and the face of a thing is its essence. Holding on to an exclusive belief and rejecting the truth of other views is a loss for an educated person. It is important to note that the word Akita in Arabic derives from the word ain koftal, which literally means to knot or to tie, which can be said to be the result of reasoning or reason, or akal, which literally means knot. Quote, "Surely in that there is a reminder for whoever has a heart, because he changes himself by way of various forms and attributes." God didn't say for whoever has reason, because the reason means a limit and it restricts the matter to a single trait, and the reality denies restriction in the cosmos. It is not a reminder to those who possess reason, that is the people of beliefs, who accuse each other of unbelief and curse each other, and no one helps them. Ibn Arabi in this regard also criticizes theologians and philosophers who frame God in their singular interpretation. For Ibn Arabi, the philosophers only try to fossilize God in their rational speculation, which only moves from veil to veil. Therefore, the Sufis in general and Ibn Arabi in particular never rely on their reason to apprehend God. They usually use their spiritual heart to break free from such monolithic views. That's why Ibn Arabi sings, "My heart has become capable of every form. It is pasture for gazelles and a convent for Christian monks, and a temple for idols and a pilgrim's Kaaba, and the tables of Torah and the book of the Quran." According to our Andalusian Sufi, the true knowledge of God is that which is not bound and not limited by certain forms of belief. This is the knowledge experienced by the Sufi or Gnostics. The Sufis don't reject God in any belief, sect, school, or religion because they see that God in all of them is one and the same. Quote, "He who doesn't restrict him, thus doesn't deny him, but affirms him in every form of transformation, worshipping him in his infinite forms, since there is no limit to the forms in which he manifests himself." The same is the case with the gnosis of God, there being no limits for the Gnostic in this respect. Always the Gnostic is seeking more knowledge of him, saying, "Lord, increase me in knowledge." Although Ibn Arabi reveals the hidden reality of the religious diversity, it doesn't mean that he is affirming the relativity of religions, let alone ignoring the Islamic Sharia. Ibn Arabi was, of course, a Sufi who was really firm in his stance on the Sharia of Prophet Muhammad. As a strict follower of the Sharia of Prophet Muhammad, he believes that it is the most perfect form amongst others. Nonetheless, Ibn Arabi refuses to deify the faith or God of belief, while reviling God of other people's beliefs. Therefore, a Gnostic like Ibn Arabi can see the one in the many and the many in the one. An Arif or a Gnostic, according to Ibn Arabi, apprehends al-haq as the known which is never denied. The perfect man, in Ibn Arabi's view, believes that God is manifest in each creed and even in the atheistic system, and because it is He alone who encompasses all things, unto God belongs whatsoever is in the heavens and whatsoever is on the earth, and God encompasses all things. For Ibn Arabi, God of belief is a God who is not tainted by the limitation of those who believe in Him. God per se is unlimited even by the word unlimited itself. Ibn Arabi calls God on this level the true God, al-ilah al-haq, the absolute God, al-ilah al-mutlaq, the unknown God, al-ilah al-majhul. God on this level is the most unknown God of the unknown, the absolute mystery or the most sacred mystery. These two views can certainly be understood to be Ibn Arabi's view of tanzih and tashbih. In my opinion, on the one hand, Ibn Arabi's view of God of belief leads us to a deeper understanding that a person should be aware of the weakness of the concept or binding that he makes about God and not revile the beliefs of other persons. On the other hand, Ibn Arabi's view of the true God makes us realize our own ignorance that we can never know God per se. So in the end, this will lead us to humility and an open attitude to be able to accept God of belief that other people conceptualize. Quote, God receives the form of every belief. Were this not so, He wouldn't be a God. When a listener hears the divine reports that God exists, he has faith in it in accordance with his own conception. Hence, he only has faith in that to which he has given conceptual form. God exists within every conceptualization. Ibn Arabi's view shows that human responses to the tajalli of al-haq are very diverse, which then lead to the differences in religious beliefs and doctrines. Although they are diverse, in this case we see an ontological unity that analyzes and binds all those differences, namely the essential unity or the divine unity, that all forms of belief originate from the same source, that is the absolute reality. In the end, our awareness that God's mercy precedes His wrath prevents us from rushing to feel more righteous than others. And indeed, that is certainly not good, because we seem to be pretending to be God's wrath itself, which is fully contrary to how God describes Himself. My mercy prevails over my wrath. Quote, humans bind their own beliefs about God, and I see all they believe in. If the forms of God appear to them differently, they see Him and deny Him according to their own perceptions. I'll see you soon in the comments.